Standing with me, of course, is Bishop Byrne, Father Peter, who is the Vicar General, Michael Ford with Finance, Father Michael Goudreau, who's the President of Catholic Charities, and Shaina Rodriguez, who's the new Executive Director. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm going to ask the Bishop to have some opening remarks.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming. As the Church, a Catholic Church around the world, prepares to celebrate these most sacred days leading up to the celebration of Jesus in the Eucharist at Easter, it is a great joy and an honor to welcome Shaina Rodriguez to our diocesan family as the Executive Director of Catholic Charities here of the Diocese of Springfield. It was through a national search that we discovered this talented, dedicated, and faith-filled woman. She is a proud and fierce native of New York City, and with her husband are proud parents of 2 daughters. Shaina is a product of Catholic education from kindergarten through college. And she not only brings 15 years of experience in the nonprofit world, but also a deep passion for serving those in need. Shaina is guided by a deep, enduring commitment to have a social impact into the social teachings of the Catholic Church, and the belief that every human being deserves to be seen, supported, empowered, and loved. This commitment was obvious in our conversation, and she immediately stood out as the perfect candidate for this position at a moment in the history of Catholic Charities when we are undertaking a revisioning of this treasured outreach ministry. I want to take an opportunity to thank all those who were part of this process, of this transition, of our visioning, of our strategic planning, which was made all the more difficult by recent changes in the federal government's cutbacks, especially in our legal immigration services. Even before these changes, we had undertaken a complete and thorough review of the mission of Catholic Charities, speaking with all of our partners, all of our stakeholders across the diocese, both within the church and within our civil colleagues. And so it is that we emerged with 3 pillars that we see as we move forward. The first is towards mental health services, food insecurity, and housing insecurity. So let me be clear, we remain committed to helping all in need, not just here in Springfield, but across Western Massachusetts, and to provide to all we encounter the joy of Christ's good news and our own Easter joy. And so it is my pleasure to introduce to you Shaina Rodriguez, our new Executive Director of our Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Springfield.
Good morning. Thank you for coming out. So I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like my career has led me here. My experience has led me here. So I'm happy to serve. I'm happy to lead. I'm happy to collaborate. And I'm just excited overall.
Do any of you have any questions you'd like to start with?
How big an organization is Catholic Charities? How much money are we talking about, and how many people served?
So it's a small but mighty team. We are between 2 and 5 million on a good day. We are looking to collaborate and grow. That's the intention. We've had some, difficulties with the new administration, and so we're really looking to expand and collaborate and grow. And so we can talk again in the future and see how that goes.
Can you go into any detail as to how the new administration has complicated things or opened up opportunities? How?
So we've lost about $600,000 of funding to support the migrant and refugee population. That has forced us to look and to expand. And so we are able to really start to address mental health, food insecurity, housing insecurity, housing affordability, and we are really looking to the community to identify what their specific needs are, and we will make a determination as how we move forward based on the needs of those that we need to serve.
And just on the closure of the refugee resettlement program, is there any hope of opening it again, or or Centria?
So we are working with Jewish Family Services. We're working very closely with the Department of Transitional Assistance to make sure that the families that we were supporting are going to continue to be supported.
And we haven't stopped our commitment to them. Even though the funding has stopped, we want to make sure that we fulfill what our obligations are, regardless of what the federal government is going to do. So we have a commitment to those families that are, and individuals that are left, and we are committed to making sure that we do what is right for them.
Thank you.
How many people are in that boat, those individuals who are left that you had been working with on the resettlement?
So overall, we had 83 cases. We had 13 families still living in temporary housing, which we are working to find some permanent and stable housing for. And as I mentioned before, we are working with Jewish Family Services to make sure that we stabilize them.
When that announcement was made about having to lay off some people and make the cutbacks, after I wrote that story, I heard from a lot of people, presumably Catholics, people via email, talking about how proud they were of that work and how that was something that they looked at within the diocese and, you know, held their head up high, and how disappointed they were. Have you gentlemen heard the same things, and what would be your message to those folks?
This was an important collaboration that we were undertaking with the federal government and the grants that we had received. Without those grants, the capacity to be able to do that work effectively was removed from us. Because but that does not mean that we haven't we haven't abandoned the service to those that we have remaining in our system. At the same time, we were undergoing a strategic process to see, were we meeting what we were feeling we were being called to do at this time. And in our conversation with people in all 4 counties of this diocese, we realized that while this was an important work, it was not the only work and the primary work that was needed at this time. And so that's why we're looking, even before the administration pulled any funding, we were looking to say, okay, how can we step into the space to help those with mental health issues, to help those with housing and food insecurity. So that was already in place as we were broadening our scope, and also realizing that we wanted to move away from an over-reliance on government contracts in our capacity to serve those in need. So we weren't just fulfilling an obligation provided by the government, but doing what we felt we had been called to do to serve the poor in Western Massachusetts.
Has changes at the federal level in other ways changed how you have to approach aiding the poor, aiding the needy? I'm talking about, news we've heard from, say, the food bank, news we've heard from housing agencies that have lost funding. How does that complicate what you're planning on doing?
It definitely creates a space that there is a need for banding together and collaboration. In the nonprofit space, when funding is not secure, it's not strong, we really need to be able to work together. I'm of the mind that if you want to go somewhere quick, you go by yourself. If you want to go far, you go together. And so we are looking to work with our parishes, go across all of Western Massachusetts. I'm sorry, I'm from Connecticut. Western Massachusetts, and make sure that we're really understanding what the needs are, what strengths other organizations have, what strengths do we bring, and how can we really serve together.
Mm-hmm. And you said earlier, it's between a $3 million and a $5 million a year operation, roughly?
Roughly.
Okay.
Yes.
Julia O'Keefe, 22 News. So you mentioned that you're from Connecticut. What made you feel called to serve the Diocese of Springfield and the community of Western Massachusetts?
I am called to serve wherever I can be of help. And so I'm originally from New York. My family and I moved to Connecticut. And so I move where there's need. There's great need in Springfield in Western Massachusetts. And as I learned about the opening, the position, I really thought about what I knew, what I can do, how I can use my talents. And Catholic Charities was the place that was calling me.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I was a little curious. I'm at the Daily Entry Gazette. I was a little curious as to like how many candidates you interviewed and some of the things that's about Mr. Rodriguez.
We had a total of eight. Through the whole process, we came down to 8 finalists. And then that was brought down to 3, all of whom were extremely qualified. But as you see, we found the right one. And Shaina brings a breadth of experience, a depth of faith, a joy of service that stood out. And so it was clear that God was sending Shaina to us.
And I could speak more to sort of the interview process that I went through and where I came from. Historically, I've been at mission-driven organizations, and I've worked in spaces where I was addressing housing insecurity. I've worked at spaces where, for a parent organization, we spoke to food insecurity. I've worked at several organizations that really spoke to mental health and building that strength. In behavioral health and trauma-informed and anti-racist practices. And so in the new strategy that the diocese is looking to go in for Catholic Charities, I have a lot of experience in those areas.
You say mission-driven, but not necessarily Catholic.
This is my first Catholic institution that I'm working for. I've been in Catholic institutions academically my entire life. I went to Fordham University. Before that, Cardinal Spellman. Before that, All Saints. So I've been in I've been in the Catholic space for a long time, and a parishioner in my town now. Sure.
And what's your most recent position?
My most recent
For
position, Chief of Strategy, People and Experience.
Okay.
Any other questions for you guys?
When did you start?
I've been here for all of 1 week. This is my second. This is my second week on the job.
Have you? It's a big diocese, as far as the bishop knows. Have you been getting out into the places that aren't Springfield?
So I haven't been able to do so yet. I've been meeting internally. I've had some Zooms with some of our community partners that we've worked with, Jewish Family Services, Center for New America. So I've met some people, but I look forward to getting out.
What's sort of your first task or thing that you're looking to accomplish?
I'm looking to find out how we can really support folks from a mental health perspective. Whether that looks like partnering with organizations that are already doing the work. I'm looking to get out in front of the parishes and make sure that they understand that Catholic Charities is here to support them and their parishioners. I'm looking to strengthen the network of our pantries and our sandwich ministries. There's a lot that I've been thinking about.
What specifically about housing? That's a huge issue that it gets expensive.
It is, and that goes back to my theory that we gotta do this together. There are other organizations like the Providence Ministries that are doing a lot of work in this space. I am going to lean on my board members to have the network to identify other areas of funding, to shout from the rooftops what we need, how much we need, when do we need it. And so that's going to be how we collaborate together.
Are you guys looking to expand staff anytime soon, or?
When we're able to do that, that's something that we will consider, yes.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you mentioned how many staff you oversee.
Right now, we're at 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jim, do you have another one? I just feel like another one's coming. One
when
more?
looking at,
Okay.
well, one of the
I
things
prompted you.
one of the things I've written about a bunch is the inventory, the shrinking inventory of buildings that the diocese has. Are there opportunities to leverage that for housing?
I think that is definitely something that we can consider.
Mhm.
I think the resources that we have to take an inventory and see what we can use. Been here, week.
Yeah.
So we definitely, the resources that we have, we will definitely leverage.
I can also send all of you her bio. It's pretty impressive, so I think that would be helpful for your story as well, and then we'll talk about the organizations and her 15 years of experience. So we're very excited to have her here, so I'll send that to all of you.
So welcome, Shaina. Thank you
Yes,
very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you for coming.